She thought it would be a quiet ride, just her and her Boerperd, crossing through open land before sunset. But as the sky turned orange, her horse suddenly stopped. Not slowed down, stopped. Completely frozen. No matter how hard she urged it forward, it refused to move. That's when she noticed something strange. The silence. No birds. No wind. Nothing. And then, she felt it. Like eyes, watching her from the tall grass. Her horse had sensed it long before she did. Because in that moment, she realized. She wasn't alone in lion country. The sun hovered low over the horizon, casting a deep amber glow across the vast African plains. The heat of the day still lingered in the earth, rising in soft waves that blurred the distance, but the air had begun to cool just enough to feel like relief. She shifted slightly in the saddle, loosening her shoulders as her Boerperd moved steadily beneath her. The horse's gait was smooth, practiced each step confident, familiar. They had ridden this stretch of land before. It wasn't new. It wasn't supposed to be dangerous. That's what made it easy to ignore the feeling creeping quietly into her chest. At first, it was nothing more than a thought she couldn't quite place. A faint unease. The kind that comes and goes without reason. She glanced out over the plain's tall grass swaying gently, scattered trees standing still against the glowing sky. Everything looked normal. But something felt off. Her fingers tightened slightly around the reins. The Boerperd's ears twitched. Once. Then again. It slowed its pace just a fraction. She noticed that. "Hey, easy," she murmured, leaning forward to pat its neck. The horse's coat was warm beneath her palm, its muscles shifting subtly under the touch. Normally, that was enough to settle it. This time, it wasn't. The horse's ears snapped forward, rigid now, fixed on something ahead. She followed its gaze. Nothing. Just grass. Endless, golden grass brushing softly in the breeze. Still, the unease deepened. They continued forward, but the rhythm had changed. The easy flow of the ride was gone, replaced by something tighter, more cautious. The horse's steps grew more deliberate, as if each one required thought. Then, gradually, the world around them began to quiet. It happened so slowly she almost didn't notice. The distant calls of birds faded. The faint hum of insects disappeared. Even the whisper of wind through the grass seemed to fall away. Silence took its place. Not peaceful silence. Heavy silence. The kind that presses against your ears and makes your instincts stir. She sat up straighter now, scanning the land more carefully. "Do you hear that?" she whispered, though she already knew the answer. The horse did. Its breathing had changed slower, controlled, but tense. They moved into a stretch where the grass grew taller, brushing against the horse's sides. The narrow path ahead cut through it like a thin line, partially hidden by shadows as the sun dipped lower. The light shifted. Gold turned to orange. Orange began to fade toward red. Dusk was coming fast. And with it, something else. The Boerperd suddenly slowed again. This time, more noticeably. Its muscles tightened beneath her. A quiet warning. She felt it now, too stronger, sharper. That sense that something wasn't right. That they were being watched. Her eyes swept across the grass once more. Nothing moved. Nothing revealed itself. And yet, the silence grew heavier. The horse took one more careful step forward, then stopped, completely still, as if the ground itself had told it not to move any further. She frowned, her pulse beginning to quicken. "Come on," she urged softly, nudging it forward. The Boerperd didn't respond. It didn't even try. It just stood there, frozen, staring into the tall grass ahead. And for the first time since the ride began, she felt it clearly. They were not alone. For a moment, she thought the horse might move again. That whatever had made it stop would pass just a brief hesitation, nothing more. But the longer she sat there, the clearer it became that this was different. The Boerperd wasn't resting. It wasn't distracted. It was refusing. Completely. Its body had gone rigid beneath her, every muscle drawn tight like a coiled spring. Even its breathing had changed slow, measured, controlled in a way that made her chest tighten with unease. "Come on," she said again, a little firmer this time, pressing her heels gently into its sides. Nothing. Not a single step. The horse didn't toss its head or resist in the usual way. It simply stood there, as if an invisible barrier had been placed in front of it, one it would not cross. A flicker of irritation rose in her. They needed to keep moving. Dusk was settling fast, and this was not a place to linger after dark. Everyone knew that. She tightened her grip on the reins and gave a slightly stronger nudge. Move. Still nothing. The Boerperd's ears were locked forward now, unmoving, focused on something deep within the tall grass ahead. Its nostrils flared slightly, drawing in the air, reading it in a way she couldn't. Then she felt it. A faint tremor beneath her. Not violent. Not obvious. But unmistakable. Fear. Real fear. Her irritation vanished instantly, replaced by a cold, creeping awareness. This horse was not stubborn. It was warning her. Slowly, she exhaled, forcing herself to stay calm. Her eyes followed the line of the horse's gaze, scanning the tall grass ahead more carefully this time. At first, she saw only what she expected to see. Grass shifting gently. Shadows stretching longer as the sun dipped lower. Nothing out of place. But the silence. The silence was wrong. By now, the plain should have been alive with evening sounds, birds calling to one another, insects humming in the cooling air, distant movement from animals settling in for the night. Instead, there was nothing. No sound. No motion. Just stillness. It pressed against her ears until it almost hurt. She swallowed hard. "Okay," she whispered, more to steady herself than anything else. The Boerperd shifted slightly beneath her, but not forward. Its weight moved subtly, as if preparing not to advance but to turn. To leave. That realization hit her harder than anything else so far. This wasn't hesitation. This was a refusal to go any closer. Her heartbeat began to pick up, slow but heavy, each pulse echoing in her chest. She leaned forward slightly, lowering her posture, trying to see through the grass without making any sudden movements. The light was fading faster now. The golden glow had deepened into a burnt orange, casting long shadows that twisted and blended with the land. Visibility was slipping away with every passing second. And whatever was out there was hidden perfectly within it. A faint movement caught her eye. So small she almost dismissed it. A ripple. Not from the wind, the air was still. This was something else. Something moving low. Her breath caught. She narrowed her gaze, focusing harder, trying to separate shadow from shape. There it was again. A subtle shift. Then nothing. Her fingers tightened unconsciously around the reins. "Did you see that?" she whispered. The horse didn't respond, but its entire body answered for it. The tension had increased. Its ears were rigid, locked onto that exact spot. Whatever was there, it hadn't left. A slow, creeping realization began to form in her mind, one she didn't want to fully accept yet. Predators. The thought came uninvited, heavy and cold. This was their territory. And dusk was when they moved. Her throat felt dry. She forced herself to stay still, resisting the urge to turn or pull back too quickly. Instinct told her that sudden movement could trigger something worse. Another ripple in the grass. Closer this time. Her pulse spiked. The silence deepened, as if the entire world was holding its breath. Then, a shape. Low to the ground. Almost invisible against the earth. But it was there. Watching. Her stomach dropped. She didn't need to see it clearly to understand what she was looking at. Years of instinct, of stories, of warnings, all of it came crashing together in a single, terrifying certainty. They weren't alone. And whatever was out there knew they were here. The Boerperd shifted again, more urgently now, its body angling slightly to the side. Not bolting. Not panicking. Preparing. Waiting for her. Trusting her to make the next move. But for a split second, she couldn't. Her mind raced, trying to process the situation, to decide what was right, what was safe. Move forward. Impossible. Stay still. Dangerous. Turn and leave. Risky. Every option felt wrong. Another movement in the grass. This time, unmistakable. Something was circling. Not rushing. Not attacking. Just positioning. A chill ran down her spine. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. Calculated. Her breath came slower now, controlled, as she fought to keep panic from taking over. Because panic would get her killed. She swallowed hard, her voice barely audible as she spoke again. Okay. I hear you. The words were meant for the horse. But also for herself. Because deep down, she understood now. The Boerperd had known all along. And if it refused to go forward, there was a reason. A very dangerous one. She forced herself to breathe. Slow. Quiet. Controlled. Every instinct inside her was screaming now run, turn, do something, but she held herself still. The Boerperd beneath her remained tense, unmoving, as if it understood that even the slightest mistake could tip the balance. Her eyes stayed fixed on the grass ahead. This time, she didn't glance. She studied. Carefully. Patiently. And then, she saw it. Not a full shape. Not a clear outline. Just a pair of eyes. Low to the ground. Unblinking. Golden. Her heart slammed against her ribs. For a split second, her mind tried to deny, it tried to convince her it was just light, just shadow playing tricks in the fading dusk. Then the eyes blinked. Slow. Deliberate. Real. A cold wave of realization washed over her. Lion. Her fingers tightened around the reins, her knuckles whitening as she fought the urge to react. The Boerperd shifted slightly beneath her, as if confirming what she now knew. They weren't alone. And they hadn't been for a while. The grass moved again. Another shape revealed itself just barely. A second set of eyes, further to the side, catching the last traces of light. Watching. Waiting. Her stomach dropped. Phew. At least. Maybe more she couldn't see. They weren't charging. They weren't making a sound. That was what made it worse. They were calm. Focused. Studying her. Predators didn't waste energy. They waited for the right moment. Her breathing grew shallow despite her effort to control it. She could feel the horse's muscles trembling now, not from weakness, but from restraint. Every instinct in the animal was ready to flee. But it wasn't moving. Not yet. Because something was still holding them there. The first lion shifted forward slightly. The movement was smooth, almost effortless as it glided through the grass. Its body remained low, nearly invisible except for the faint ripple it left behind. Closer. Her pulse spiked. She swallowed hard, her throat dry. Don't move. The thought echoed in her mind, loud and clear. Running would trigger the chase. She knew that. Even turning too fast could provoke them. So she stayed still. Frozen. Just like the horse. Another step from the lion. Measured. Silent. Closing the distance without urgency, without fear. That was the most terrifying part. It wasn't afraid of her. Why would it be? She was alone. Out in the open. Exactly where a predator would expect prey to be. Her gaze flicked briefly to the side. The second set of eyes hadn't moved. Positioned. Watching from an angle. A trap. The realization hit her like ice water. They weren't just there. They were coordinating. Her grip on the reins tightened further, though she forced her body to remain calm, still, controlled. The Boerperd shifted its weight again, just slightly, its body angling, preparing for something. Escape. It was waiting. Waiting for her signal. But when? When was the right moment? Too soon, and they might trigger the attack. Too late, and there might be no chance at all. The closest lion lifted its head just enough for her to see the outline of its face, now broad, powerful, unmistakable. Its eyes locked onto hers. For a brief, chilling moment. Everything else disappeared. The world shrank to that single connection. Predator. Prey. A silent understanding passed between them. And in that moment, she knew. They were deciding whether she lived or didn't. Time slowed to a crawl. The world around her seemed to hold its breath, suspended in a fragile, dangerous balance. The fading light stretched shadows across the plains, blurring shapes and hiding movement. But her focus remained locked on the lion in front of her. It had stepped just far enough out of the grass now for her to see it clearly. Massive. Muscular. Its golden coat melted into the land, but its presence was undeniable. Power radiated from it, quiet, controlled, absolute. Its eyes never left her. Not for a second. Her pulse hammered in her chest, loud enough she feared it might give her away. But outwardly, she stayed still. She had to. The Boerperd beneath her was trembling now, not wildly, but with a contained, barely restrained energy. It was ready to explode into motion at any second. But it didn't. Not without her. That trust hit her deeply in that moment. The horse was waiting for her decision. And she couldn't afford to get it wrong. The lion took another slow step forward. Not a charge. Not even a threat. Just a shift. Testing. Its tail flicked once behind it, cutting through the air lazily, but there was nothing relaxed about it. Every movement had purpose. Every step closed the distance. She forced herself to think. Running blindly would trigger instinct. Predators chased fleeing prey, it was wired into them. If she bolted now, she might not make it far. But staying still forever wasn't an option either. They were being sized up, measured, judged. And if the lion decided she was worth the effort, it would be over before she could react. Her grip on the reins softened slightly, not loosening, but changing. She shifted her weight just enough for the Boerperd to feel it. A signal. Not to run. Not yet. To prepare. Slowly, carefully, she drew in a breath and adjusted her posture. No sudden moves. No panic. Just a quiet, deliberate shift. The Boerperd responded instantly, angling its body just slightly sideways. Not turning its back. Not retreating outright. Just creating space. The lion noticed. Of course it did. Its head tilted almost imperceptibly, eyes narrowing as it watched the movement. But it didn't lunge. It didn't advance. It simply observed. That gave her a sliver of hope. Another small shift. Another step sideways. The horse moved with controlled precision, hooves placing carefully against the ground, making as little sound as possible. The distance between them widened, barely. But enough. The second lion remained out of full view, but she could still feel its presence lingering off to the side, watching, waiting for an opening. This wasn't over. Not yet. Then. A sound. Faint. Distant. A rustle, followed by the low, echoing call of animals far off in the plains. The lion's ears flicked. Just for a moment. Its attention shifted. Not completely. But enough. That was it. That was the moment. Her breath caught. Now, she whispered. The word was barely audible, but the Boerperd didn't need more. In an instant, everything changed. The tension snapped. The horse surged forward, muscles unleashing all at once in a powerful burst of speed. The ground thundered beneath them as they broke away from the standoff, leaving the silent watchers behind. The world exploded into motion. The Boerperd surged forward with raw power, its hooves pounding against the earth in a relentless rhythm. Wind rushed past her face, tearing at her breath, blurring everything except the desperate need to get away. She leaned low over the horse's neck, gripping tightly, her heart racing in sync with every stride. Don't look back. The thought repeated in her mind, over and over. Behind them, the tall grass swallowed whatever had been watching. No roar came. No thunder of pursuit. But that didn't mean they were safe. Not yet. The horse ran as if it understood everything, every ounce of danger, every second that mattered. It didn't slow. It didn't hesitate. It just ran. Farther. Faster. Until the silence finally broke. A bird cried out in the distance. The wind returned, brushing through the grass once more. Life. Normal sound. Normal movement. She felt it instantly, the shift. The tension easing, just slightly. Only then did she dare to slow the horse. Gradually. Carefully. Her breathing was uneven, her hands trembling as she finally glanced behind her. Nothing. No movement. No eyes. Just empty plains. Safe for now. She exhaled deeply, resting her hand against the Boerperd's neck. You knew, she whispered. The horse flicked its ears calmly, its body finally relaxing. And in that quiet moment, one truth settled deep within her. Out here, survival doesn't come from seeing danger. It comes from trusting what senses it first. The plain stretched endlessly behind her, calm once more as if nothing had happened. But she knew better. Out there, danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes, it waits in silence. Sometimes, it watches. And sometimes, the only reason you make it out alive is because something else sensed it first. She gave the Boerperd one last gentle pat, the bond between them stronger now than ever. No words were needed. What had happened out there, they both understood. Voiceover tone shifts slightly, direct to audience. If that moment gave you chills, imagine being there, with nothing but silence and eyes watching from the dark. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more real, edge-of-your-seat survival stories. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done in that moment? Stayed still or run? Because out there, one decision can be the difference between life and death.